So our work goes from youth to the elderly. There's so much great work done by everyone in our community that it only made sense to bring us all together to learn, network, and share expertise. So I want to thank all of the presenters that signed up for today. We have a really good crowd of presenters. And we hope everybody enjoys today's event. It's the first one, and we really hope that this is not the last one. So a few housekeeping items before we get started. There's snacks, coffee, and water available over in the registration area. I know there was a little hiccup with the coffee, but I heard that their coffee is ready. So that'll be available for everyone. There will be lunch and refreshments provided and served at 12 p.m. It'll be at Taquero, and the space will be set outside. So at that time, get your food, there'll be tables set up, and make sure you network and enjoy hopefully what will be good weather today. For those of you coming from out of town, Southern Arizona is one of the best places for weather. Restrooms are located on the south side of the building, which is to the right when you step outside the doors, and there's also another set of restrooms on the front entrance. So we have a packed program for you all today. The programs are located in the bags that you all were provided at registration. We hope that you enjoy the day. Things will be moving fairly quickly. So after the upcoming keynote, we'll have a short break that will lead to session 8. The program provided in your bag has the session descriptions and the room numbers, and we encourage to pick the topic of your interest. So please keep in mind, we will have a lived experience panel presentation right after session 8 in this room. So please be mindful of time and make sure you hurry back out of respect for the people that will be presenting. We hope you guys are able to join us for the full summit. We'll have some great raffle prizes at the end for all of you. And to start, I'd like to introduce our first speakers, Jason Bentley and Ari Sloan from Boulder Crest Foundation. Thank you.
Good morning. Is this on? Yeah. Truth be told, Ari and I don't go to script. We kind of go off script a lot. But I think it's important that I hit key notes in our speech. So I did write down a speech that I'm going to share with you. So good morning, everyone. It is an absolute honor to stand before you today, representatives of the Boulder Crest Foundation, where we are dedicated to helping individuals on their journey to recovery and healing. Our work centers on offering transformative programs that support veterans, first responders, and others who have faced trauma, helping them regain control of their lives and achieve lasting well-being. Substance abuse is often intertwined with trauma, and addressing both is key to meaningful recovery. And at Boulder Crest, we understand that healing isn't just about managing symptoms. It's about fostering resilience. It's about building strength from within and giving individuals the skills to live full, purposeful lives. Now, whether through our Struggle Well courses, through our Warrior Path program, or our newest initiative, the Struggle Well Experience, we are committed to supporting those in need through a holistic approach that treats the whole person, not just the trauma or the addiction. I hope that today's summit inspires all of us to continue working together to learn, to share, and to deepen our commitment to those struggling with substance abuse and trauma. Now, together we can create environments of support and empowerment, guiding individuals toward a brighter, healthier future. Now, Ari and I would like to challenge you. We'd like to offer some food for thought while continuing through this event today. Not only today, throughout the rest of your days. I'm going to read a passage. It talks about a hero and what a hero is for many people. So there are many definitions of a hero. For some, a hero is a person who travels thousands of miles from home to fight wars on foreign lands. For others, understand a hero to be someone who rushes into a burning building to save a stranger without considering his or her own vulnerability and personal risk of injury or death. And we believe that these people are are indeed heroes in every sense of the word. But we are also aware of another type of hero that is often overlooked, and underappreciated. We call them everyday heroes. Our understanding of the everyday hero is based on the Greek and Roman concept of a hero, which is an ordinary person who experiences an extraordinary event, survives it, and returns to the everyday world to express an important truth about life. Now, it's the average person who has undergone events that have challenged their core belief, refused to quit when things seemed hopeless, overcame their challenges, and then shared what they learned with those around them. We believe this is the most common type of hero you'll find. These heroes are all around us. Now to you, my everyday heroes, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here and your dedication to this, and your ongoing work to make a positive difference in the lives of those who need it most. Now, I'm going off script because I feel uncomfortable up behind that stuff. So, my name is Jason Bentley. I work for the Tucson Police Department. I've been a police officer for 24 years, and as of now, I'm a training officer at the academy. That's what I do. My story starts so as a young officer, I was an FTO. I was a K-9 handler for 10 years. I was a SWAT operator for 13 years as well. During my time, I went through a lot of things. I saw a lot of things, but those traumas, the things that I saw at work and did at work, the things that I incorporated into my life from work, weren't the things that bothered me. In our profession, in our culture, we do such a good job while at work harboring those things that happen to us because we have things set up. I've been in shootings, I've shot, I've done those things, I've been in critical incidents, and we have a platform where I can go and get help for that. What I didn't have is an understanding of my personal life. When things happen away from work, I compartmentalize that stuff so I can go to work. That's where my struggles occurred. As a young officer, I got married pretty quickly to my now ex-wife. During my time with my ex-wife, I was an abused husband. I was a victim of domestic violence. It wasn't uncommon for me to show up to work with bruises on my arms. It wasn't uncommon for me to be mentally, physically, and emotionally abused on a regular basis. To the point where I would drive home in my K-9 car, big bad SWAT guy, big tough K-9 handler, drive in, sit in my driveway, and not want to go inside because I knew the storm that was going to happen. I knew what was waiting for me. I was a single father for about 3 years with a roomie, a live-in roomie. Eventually, things came to head where the alcoholism that she displayed, the abuse of medication that she displayed, was taking a toll on myself and our daughter, 14 at the time. I remember one day coming home from the gym because that was my escape. I'd go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym. I came in, it was about 10:30 in the morning. I had just gone to the grocery store. I walked into the house knowing what was waiting for me in there. 10:30 in the morning, my ex is passed out on the couch with a bottle of Jack Daniels next to her. My daughter's home at the time. My daughter, she was on spring break or she was on break. And I heard her in her bathroom. I walked in there and she was doing her hair. Beautiful, beautiful young lady. I'm like, hey baby, what are you doing? She's like, Mom said she's finally going to take me to lunch. And this has been going on for years. I knew that things were happening, but I had to support my family. I had to go to work. I had to do the things. But I went inside and I faced my biggest demon. I faced the dragon that I knew what was going on. I walked back over the couch and I'm like, what are you doing? What the heck is happening? My ex laid there. I went and I had to tell my daughter, hey, Mom's going to take you to lunch today. At that moment, I knew things had to change. At that moment, that was one of my breaking points. Everything I had been doing was not working. Not only that, my daughter was being exposed to this type of lifestyle. One of the biggest humbling things I ever had to do was call my hero, my dad, who I worked with. He was a police officer as well. I had to tell him, hey Dad, I need your help. I had never done that before. I need you to come and pick up Evan because I have to go to work and I have to make money, I have to do this stuff. All the fear, all the disbelief in my heart that I knew that he was going to be ashamed of his son. The one thing he said to me, I'll be right there. It was at that moment that I understood I wasn't alone. It was at that moment where I saw substance abuse and I knew it was going on in my house. And I wasn't innocent in this whole thing. I remember drinking as well. There was times when I challenged myself how much I could drink. Substance abuse is a real thing. Because of traumas, because of how we live our lives, it's kind of a crutch. Fast forward, eventually we got divorced. Excuse me. That was my choice, and her answer to me was, okay, you can have Emma, my daughter, I'm moving to Florida. And I was like, what kind of mother does that? So at this point, I was a single father. I had 2 mortgages, or I had a mortgage and a rental house because I was trying to sell the house. I was tapped out financially. Mentally, I was broken. Spiritually, I had no spirit. Physically, I couldn't do it anymore. I was never suicidal. I was never wanting to hurt myself. I was lost. Eventually, I met my now wife, but she was a friend to me. She would talk to me. Being able to talk and talk and talk. Fast forward a few years, things got better, sold the house. My daughter and I always had a rough relationship. I think she kind of held in her heart, she held it against me, what was going on. And I understood. I wasn't there. I wasn't the good father. We've taught this course several times, and one student that came through, he's an officer as well. He said after going through this course, if I could write a book, it would be called Good Cop, Bad Dad. That was me. I was a good cop. I was good at everything I did. Amazing canine handler, operator, all the things. Squared away. But at home, I didn't know how to father. I didn't know how to husband. Eventually, we got better. I thought we got better until I was at the doctor and they said these treatments aren't working, you need to be on chemotherapy. My world crushed. Not only am I going through a divorce, not only does my daughter hate me, not only is a lot of things going on with her, now I have cancer. Actually, today is my last dose of chemo for 6 weeks. The old me, the way I dealt with all that stuff, I would isolate. I would stay away from people. I didn't want people to know my problems. The Tucson Police Department, thank God, introduced the Struggle Well program to our department. I kind of fought it. I didn't want to go through because in our culture, if you know our culture, we're tough guys, we don't talk about that stuff, suck it up, buttercup, all these things. Right? Eventually I went through, and it was what I needed. It was the most impactful thing that I had been through. And I've been through a lot of training. I understand training. The most impactful thing that I needed at that time. To the point where now Vice President of the Struggle Well Experience, Joe Wood, was my guy. I went up to him on a break and I said, I want to be up there with you in 5 years, doing what you do, teaching what you teach. 3 months later, he called me and said, you ready to teach? I go, Joe, it's not 5 years. I'm not ready for this, right? I bit the bullet and I got up there. And I learned more about myself. I learned more about my brothers and sisters, the people that were suffering and struggling. I learned how to struggle well. I learned how to do these things. But it doesn't fix everything. Understand that I can't fix problems. It made me realize that. I'm a fixer by nature. I can't fix my daughter's problems. I can be there and I can listen. the golden rule of quiet and listen. I did that. Now my daughter and I relationship is to the moon. Because of this program, because of what I've learned about myself, I'll talk about this. January 5th, my last grandmother had a massive stroke. That was a few weeks ago. 90 years old, she was born in Jonesboro, Ireland. Her and I, she was on Facebook. She would text me, she would call me, send me things, I would go visit her. I just went and sat with her a week before. She suffered a massive stroke. The next day she passed away. We call these things those earthquake events. Earthquake event. I didn't know why this destroyed me so much. I'm a guide, I'm a senior guide, I teach, I go do all these things on a daily basis. This destroyed me. I cried, I didn't know what to do. The difference was, the substance I didn't turn to. I turned to my right, to my beautiful wife, and I talked to her. I needed more. I turned to my left. Ari, my best bud. I turned to another student that went through one of my courses. I turned to him. He lives in Boston. I turned to my 3 to 5, my other friends, because I didn't know what was going on. I was destroyed when my grandmother passed. Every single person reached out to me right away, and we talked, and we talked, and we talked. The next day, I weathered the storm. I understood that life happens, that I can struggle up, that I understand that there's a good way of dealing with those earthquake events, dealing with the things that are going to happen. Life happens. I have the capacity to respond rather than react to things in life. And it's changed my world. With that, with the substance, with these programs, I am so grateful that every single person is in this room, fighting the good fight, being the everyday hero that we all need to be. This community, Lorraine and Lizette, and you guys don't know this, but we did a class down here for CVP, for No Gas, for everyone else. And they sat in the back. And they were like, okay, we're going to see what this is. And Ari and I did the class, and we're like, no. And they did absolutely amazing, to the point where we have a new guide. Where Lorraine is going to be a guide with us, and she's doing her first ride along with Ari soon. The word spreads. It's a powerful, powerful thing if we're just there for each other. If we're able to lean on each other when we need it, because we all need it. We're not trained to do that. We're not trained to reach out. But the proof is in the pudding. I promise you that. Again, thank you for letting me be here. When we got the call to be here, it was the most humbling thing that I have been through, because from where I was to where I am now, it's confirmation I'm doing something right. It's confirmation I'm doing good things. I'm not the old Jason. I'm actually making steps. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that, Jason. Appreciate you. So my name is Ari Sloan. I currently work for the Boulder Crest Foundation. Jason and I know each other because I also work for the Tucson Police Department. It's weird for me to say I've been retired for almost 10 years now, and I still haven't wrapped that around my head. But yeah, it's retired from the Tucson Police Department. I was there for 21 years, and I spent my whole time there on the streets. Most of the time was in patrol, and I was a field training officer as an auxiliary position. I was a hostage negotiator for about 18 years. And if I wasn't in patrol, I worked in an undercover capacity. I did 3 undercover assignments, and they were about 2 years each. A lot of my story is going to be similar to Jason's, and those of you that are first responders are definitely going to resonate with the culture that I talk about. And even if you're not a first responder, I have a feeling you're going to know about the culture. Growing up in that culture, you were always told that you got to stuff everything down, experience, feelings, you know, the F word, you gotta stuff that down and go on to the next call and do your job. And when you do start having feelings or processing things, we'll just pour some alcohol on it. And that's what I learned. That's what I was conditioned with. That's what we taught other people as they started in that capacity. During my first undercover assignment, I had a very harrowing experience. I was almost killed during an operation, and to me, I feel like that was the catalyst of my post-traumatic stress. I have childhood trauma that I suppressed so long ago, I hadn't really thought of it at the time. But this, I think, just awoke something in me. And again, the Tucson Police Department at that point in time didn't have anything like Struggle Well. That didn't exist. It was just the usual, just go back to work, you're gonna be fine, take a day off or whatever. It's essentially what I did. And as time goes on, that came in bit behind. So not processing that and seeing the things that I saw day in and day out and not processing those, not talking about it, started creating something in me. And I won't just blame the work and the work culture. Again, there are childhood things that are very common in those of us that serve. And I would submit that this whole crowd in here is service persons. So this should kind of hit home. So I had learned behaviors such as being angry. Now, being an officer, that certainly fostered that anger. And towards the end of my career, 2 decades worth of suppressing things, drinking, pouring alcohol on everything. Towards the end of that career, I was ready to retire. But the problem is that I didn't have feelings anymore. I suppressed everything for so long, I would do whatever I could to seek out maybe adrenaline. And a lot of that was at work. I was ready to retire. I had done all the things, the assignments that I truly wanted to do. That's on the positive note. On the negative note, I was starting to take risks at work. Too many risks. Going to calls and doing things by myself when I should have had other people with me. Because why? Because I didn't care anymore. I felt like I was damaged. That I was just a broken person. I knew what I was doing as a service meant everything to me. It's what I really wanted to do, is serve my community, and I wanted to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. I wanted to be a voice to those who couldn't speak. But bringing anger to my family, to my wife, my daughter, day in and day out, because I didn't know how to be anything but an officer. I knew something was wrong, and I knew that I needed help. Now my best friend, who was in my academy class, we thought we were taking care of each other, but because of the things that we learned, we drank together, and we told war stories, and we thought that we were doing good service to each other. You know, we're brothers, we're there together. But it wasn't, because the drinking came more and more, and again, I knew that something was wrong and I had to do something. And so I retired, and the way that I handled things was, instead of facing it you know, head on, well, if I just go 100 miles an hour, I don't have to deal with it. So that's what I did. I retired, jumped into a brand new career. I had my normal 3 days off, didn't take any time to decompress over 2 decades of work. Well, that's a smart thing to do. It's not. And I worked in a kind of toxic work culture, and not being an officer anymore and not having that identity really started making the wheels fall off my bus. Things started bubbling up that I suppressed for so long, and I wasn't ready for that. And it all came crashing down when I got laid off. Because now, what do? This was not part of my plan. This is the only job that I was gonna have after being a police officer, and then I would sail off into a second retirement. And that's not what happened. So after getting laid off, I don't know how I'm gonna make money, I don't know what's gonna happen. I got stuck in a pit. Now during that time, and I describe this now because before going through the struggle well experience, I was a victim of all this stuff happening to me. Now I don't see it that way, so when I explain some of this, I kind of want you to understand that. At this point in time of being laid off, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do financially for work, had a situation where my daughter at the time, she was 17. Long story short, we had her sign up for this what do you call it, a driving school, so she could get her driver's license. She ended up being sexually abused by her instructor on the third time that she went. And at that same time, and again, I knew that I needed help, and I had found Boulder Crest. I had submitted an application to go through the experience, so I had set some things in motion to help myself, and I had gotten accepted into the program. I was also trying to get my best friend to go through it. Now, I said that the two of us drank together. He started drinking way more than me, and trust me, I was not light in the amount that I was drinking, but he way surpassed me, and I started seeing that. Again, not dealing with myself, I decided I need to save him now. I need that focus. I still gotta go 100 miles an hour. And so, tried to get him to get sober so he could get into this program with me. I figured we'll do it together. We did everything together, right? That wasn't happening. So amidst processing all this stuff that happened with my daughter, my work life, which obviously was affecting my marriage and my home, I get the call, like I said, I'm gonna go into this program. About 2 weeks before I'm going into the program, and we'll tell you about specifically these programs in just a little bit. It wasn't very uncommon that I didn't hear from my best friend for 12 hours, maybe almost a day, because he literally drank day in and day out, nonstop, unless he was passed out. So he hadn't answered his phone for about 13 hours, and I think I always knew in the back of my mind what was gonna happen, but you can't really ever prepare for that. So I took one of his other friends, we went and go checked on him, and I found him. He had passed. And I don't say this lightly. That really broke me. The wheels completely came off. And I didn't know what to do at that point. When I say these words, I really wanted to hit home. And if I hadn't already had things set of going through the struggle ball experience, knowing in 2 weeks I'm going to the program, I wouldn't be here today. Because that was the last straw for me. I was already thinking things and thinking of not being here and killing myself. And after finding him, that was it for me. But the one thing I held on to is, okay, well in 2 weeks I'm going to this thing. I said to myself, you had the courage to fill out this application, click submit. Maybe I don't want to do that. I need to go through this. So I went through that. And I discovered something during this program. Number one, I got hope. I saw that for the first time ever, as far as I can remember, I'm not broken anymore. I'm not broken. I'm not a damaged person. I'm not a damaged father. I'm not a damaged husband. I'm not a damaged friend. Because I carried so much guilt, and this is what we all do. Is we carry guilt. We get stuck in our past. And these are things that we talk about in program. Is that we even talk about, there's a Tony Robbins quote that he says, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And if we can change our mindset, and that's what this was, it's a mindset change. That number one, it's okay not to be okay. Number two, we all go through struggle and trauma. It's not just in the military or the first responder communities, all of us do. That connects all of us also. So we also learn that we're not alone. And for the first time, that was another thing I realized, that I'm not alone. So that program for me saved me. It truly saved my life. And much like what Jason was talking about, because Joe Wood, our VP, was one of my guides when I went through program. And I told him, I finally know what my why is on this earth. And that's to do this, to give back to my brothers, my sisters, my community. And, fast forward, that got me to here, guiding with Jason. And it's our program, or programs I should say, they're life changers. It takes care of our first responders, our military personnel. We're branching out into the nursing field. There's talk about teachers, because again, there's not a monopoly in handling struggle and trauma with just first responders and military. It truly is for everybody, and Boulder Crest is doing what it can to start spreading that out. I just want to thank you all for allowing us to be here today and for being open and listening to us. Like Jason said, and I feel the same way, coming down into the Nogales area and doing our programs here is very special to me. I feel very connected to the community here, so I love being here. So thank you.
That's a little piece of how you like to do things. I hate going off script. So what we're gonna do, Ari kind of put together a little just slideshow. PowerPoint, we're not gonna do that by PowerPoint, I promise you that. We just want to show a few things of what the Boulder Crest Foundation does. First of all, before we do that, is there any questions about me, any questions about Ari that we can answer, get out there? We're open books. I will tell you anything you want to hear, I promise you.
Same with me.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to say thank you for being vulnerable with everyone and allowing us to hear your story.
Thank you for saying that. And it's, funny story, so with the academy, I was actually asked to go by my chain of command to Vegas to do a symposium, a summit like this for, I forgot what it was for academies and for recruiting. And one of my chiefs was there, my captain was there, my wife was there, she works for the department too. And I had to give a lecture, not a lecture, just I had to do an instruction on how our academy is incorporating struggle into it. So I was in front of 500 people for the first, I'm like, holy cow, right? But I opened up and I said a lot more than I told you guys today. I think that's so important because if I can connect with one person in this audience, one person in the 500, my job's done, game over, right? And I have people coming up and do the same thing, so it is so important to be vulnerable, to be, not have to take that mask off and be able to say what you need to say, not only to help someone, but to help myself. It's not selfish to help yourself, so.
And I'll just kind of piggyback what Jason's saying real quick, I got you, on the importance of disclosing and talking about things, because I guarantee you, between both of us and the things that we shared, you all were able to connect with us in one way or another in some part of our story, and that is the important thing, is that that's what we can do with each other, is connect. Doesn't matter what your job is, doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter anything. If you are vulnerable and you have the strength to be vulnerable, the courage, you're gonna give someone else that strength and courage, and you're gonna create a deep connection that you didn't have before. You have a question?
Yeah, you touched on the culture of the police force and how it's like don't talk about anything. So what have you guys seen change, or how have you guys overcome that barrier, or even started to come?
Yeah. So I'll answer that. Specifically with the Tucson Police Department, we have, I think we've done, I don't know how many classes, maybe 700 employees, right? And we do, so not just the police officers, but we also do community dispatch, we do records clerks, everybody goes into our chiefs, all the uppers have done it. So why bring this up? We had an officer killed on duty on Easter, Adam Buckner. He was killed in a fatal car accident while on shift. The impact that would have had on our department prior to introducing these programs to the officers, to people, was 180 degrees. I saw people crying. I saw people talking one-on-one. Chiefs, everybody, it was a totally different environment from losing such a tragic event, losing an officer. We were able to, and I don't like using the word cope, we were able to move on and honor him. So the impact, I see it on a daily basis. In our department, we have gratitude boards. Just a simple, every day, what are you grateful for? And people write on the gratitude board. We have pins, we have all the things. So people understand, it's not just, you were in a shooting or you were in a critical incident, go talk to the psychiatrist. It's not that anymore. It's like, have you reached out to your squad mates? Have you talked to your family? It's very open. I don't see it as much as, shut up, buttercup, get to work. It's not that anymore. At the academy, so I've incorporated Struggle Well into the curriculum at the academy. So every recruit that goes through the academy goes through about 16 hours of Struggle Well. And it's broken up. The impact that has had, in my experience, I give them surveys at the end. Their personal life is better. They don't fight with family members anymore. They're able to deal with stress better. So just being open and vulnerable, or listening truthfully and honestly, it's been crazy experience.
And the Tucson Police Department has really kind of spearheaded this effort in changing the culture of the department. It's not the same department that I left almost 10 years ago, by far, 180 degrees easy. And that's part of our Struggle Well program, is that we go out regionally with different agencies, fire agencies and police agencies. Jason and I were honored and blessed to be first class in this area, which has fire agencies, police agencies, federal agencies from this area started on that, and it's taken off like firestorm. It's going great because it's a change in culture that comes from within, because you have support from administration in doing that. And let me just say real quick, what that particular program is that it's all prevention focused, based on the science of post-traumatic growth. I'll towards the end of this, I'll give you a real brief description of what is post-traumatic growth. And that is what our program is. That's what we focus on, is learning how to grow through trauma and struggle. And now we partner with, like I said, with our first responder agencies, including military units, and it's just changing the culture from the inside out. The length, we can do 1 day, 2 day, we've done actually 3 and 4 days, but typically it's a 5-day, Monday through Friday, that we'll do, and we do this nationwide.
And just a caveat on that, when I get back to the police department, there's people that don't want anything to do with it, which is fine. You're not gonna, you can't change everyone. You can offer the stuff, right? And I'm sure you've seen that. There's still people that are like, no, it's not for me. That's okay. It's not a mandatory thing. This is a voluntary thing for all of our departments, aside from the recruitment.
Yes, it's
And just to let you guys know, they are coming up with curriculum and workshops for people who work for clinics, nurses, counselors. They're working on stuff for teachers. They're working on a whole bunch of stuff. So this is just the beginning. So maybe later on in the future for your staff, for anybody who works in your clinic for mental health, for your nurses, you know. So hopefully this takes off and we all have post-traumatic growth.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'll put up our website. I encourage you to check out our website, because we do have, like Lisette said, a certification course that you can go through. You can learn the concepts, you can learn the science of post-traumatic growth. With our Struggle Well Experience program in particular, we had our first trauma nurse go through this past year, so that's already in the works. Yes, sir.
Question. What do you guys see being the kind of personal fear of somebody getting involved, as far as, hey, I need help? Do they consider themselves, oh, if I do it, I'm gonna be, potential risk of suicidal or that, and that could hurt their job duties or hurt their background and all that. And not just suicidal, but, being considered, dangerous or not trusted, because I figured, a lot of people don't step up and say, hey, I need help. They live it and keep it inside. What do you guys see in that? Is there a protection that, hey, if you come and talk to us, it ain't gonna part of your career?
That's a good, yeah, no, it's a great question, absolutely, because again, going back into the culture of being a first responder, in earlier times, absolutely, that's, you go get help, oh, you gotta get out of here, or you're, exiled somewhere. With all of our programs, we don't have any ties to any agencies, we don't report things to them, everything is confidential within our groups. That's one of the first things that we said, and Lorena and Lizette were there for a class, and that's what we establish is safety and security with what says in these groups stays in there. So but that you're right that it's that aside, there's still that personal stigma of either someone needs it more than me, and I will absolutely say, if you're saying that, then you need it. Because I hear that all the time. Hopefully that answers your question.
Well, yeah, one other point to that is all that I've done or guided or have been through in, I don't know how many it's been, there has not been one instance of somebody talking, like, I would not talk about Ari's stuff. Like, we have not had any disclosure leakage or any pushback from anybody that we know of. Because it's kind of a dynamic thing. I'm in this room, I'm trusting you with your story, with my story, as you are trusting me with my story, or vice versa. So we set it up so we do build a trusting connection. Our department heads, our chief comes in every time and he does full disclosure. He talks about his childhood, he talks about his struggles, he talks about everything. So he sets the bar. When I went through, my deputy chief, Monica Prieta, was in my class. So there's no rank, there's no distortion between officer, it's Jason and Ari at the set, and it's everybody in there. We're people, and that's what we forgot how to do. We forgot how to be human and talk and trust each other.
And yes, and that's a good point. I think that's what helps that, is that we focus on not just the rank and file, we go to the top. That's how you change that culture to help protect that. So, thank you. Any other questions? We'll definitely give you time for that some more in a little bit. So, this is what started it all with Boulder Crest, is our Warrior Path program, which was focused on our military personnel, helping them like realize that they can be themselves when they're not deployed. Because in this whole kind of community, where we got all this awesome training to make us so good at our jobs, but we never get training on how to turn that off when we go home. And that's the big learning thing, is that we have to learn how to do that. We have to learn, like Jason said, how to people again. And so that's what our Warrior Path program was focused on. It provides training that you need to transform your struggle into strength. Like I said, it's learning that growth through our struggle, thriving after that trauma. Path stands for Progressive and Alternative Training for Helping Heroes. And it's, again, based on the science of post-traumatic growth. It's a total of a 90-day commitment. First 7 days are very intensive, and the participants, and we have partners all across the U.S. They travel, they're flown. It's no cost to our participants. We have donors from across the nation, actually international donors also, that help with our programs. And we take a very, very deep dive into ourselves. There are small classes. The Struggle Well class that we talked about, we cap that at about 25 people. So somewhere between 20 to 25, maybe a little bit more. Again, we do it Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, you go home every night. This week that you spend in the Warrior Path, you don't go anywhere. You stay at that facility, and there's smaller groups, 8 people, not co-ed, male or female classes, and life changer.
Yeah, and let's be honest, we call it a facility, they're beautiful ranches.
That's true. Yeah.
Sonoita is a 160-acre ranch. The one where Texas, we do Struggle Well Experience, it's a 60-acre ranch, it's brand new. Virginia, Maryland, all across the nation, we have these beautiful, it's not a facility, it's a
That's a good point. Now
you
it's,
have your own bunkhouse, you have a 5-star chef. It's all about you when you go.
you're absolutely right. Now, that being said, it's not a vacation either. because and here's one of the things that we really focus on. Doing the work on ourselves is hard work, but it's necessary work. And so we start that first week establishing that foundation of what's the work I need to do. I need to understand my past, I need to understand my future, I need to understand my present. And then how do I start doing the work on myself? Now we say it's a 90-day because after that week, there's a continual connection between you and the rest of your group that you participated with. With us, there's scheduled Zoom calls we set you up for success. And that's why this program, it's 2016, 2014 is when it started, I think? Okay. So it's been very, very refined. So one of the things that Boulder Trust realized is, okay, our first responders need the same thing, and that's what born the Struggle Well experience. Essentially the exact same thing, cut by 2 days. So it's Monday through Friday, but you are still taken or fly, drive, whatever, to one of the facilities. Essentially the same thing though, and that's what Jason and I are really kind of partnered up with. And it's so brand new that October was the last that was the last class of 2024. That was only class 11. I went through class 2 years ago. So that's how new it is. The warrior paths are in the hundreds. But again, knowing that we had our first responders that needed the same thing is where we got with this. Maybe there on that now. So real quick, post-traumatic growth. It's positive psychological transformation that can happen after trauma. That science demonstrates that when we're forced to reflect on our lives and make sense of the destruction caused by trauma, struggles, and that can be a catalyst for change. Now, trauma does not have to be the end of the road, rather it can be the path to a new beginning. And that's that mind shift that I kind of talked about. We'll just kind of leave you with this. It's a quote by Carl Jung. I'm not what happened to me, I'm what I choose to become. Choice is a very, very powerful thing that we don't realize. So put up our website for Boulder Crest. Please take some time, check it out. In more detail, it talks about post-traumatic growth. It talks about our programs. If you are a first responder, if you're military, you have family members, friends that fall into those categories, we have a series of videos. I think there's 4 videos right now that are very, very powerful on what our programs are. I would challenge you to show those videos to them or watch the videos for yourself.
Not only that, we offer volunteering too. If you know somebody who wants to volunteer, if you'd like to volunteer, go to the ranch, see the facilities, it's absolutely available as well, which is an amazing experience as well.
Absolutely. And then our contact information, should you all have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever we can do to help, I'll leave this up here. Any other questions that any of you may have at this point? We'll be hanging around, so you can always grab us later.
And again, thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you for such an opportunity. We really love this community. I was so excited to get down here early and just be here. So thank you for doing what you do as well.
Absolutely.
We deeply appreciate it. I know it's tough times, but together we can make this everything happen as it should.
Absolutely. We're so excited for this first summit and everything that this whole day is going to give you all. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason and Ari. That was very powerful, and it's great to know that that resource is just in our county, in our community. Sonoida, right up the road, beautiful area again. And I know that there's first responder representation in the room right now from city, fire, federal. Feel free, anybody, to talk to them. We do have a break right now. At 10:20, we'll promptly start session A. So please, again, look at your program, pick your session, and meet up in the room by 10:20. Right now, feel free to network. Thank you.